start streaming. I've got the stream key in. Oh. Alrighty, we are live. And welcome everyone to the follow-up to the insane qualifying session we've had for the Canadian Grand Prix. Got just about a minute left in practice before the race countdown starts. We are on board with P2 starter, Ivan Lesajuk. Pretty rapid yesterday in qualifying. He gave Sven a decent bit of a challenge for pole position about midway through the session, and Sven just putting in that massive 108 lap, just pulling about a 7/10 gap all the way to his teammate in P2. But making the first for a Ferrari lockout and the first lockout in general in AFR for any team. So.
Yeah, gonna be interesting to see if they can hold that P1 and 2 throughout the race and make it the first 1-2 in AFR history.
Yep. And these results are going to be crucial. I mean, we're fighting for constructors, we're fighting for the championship. You know, it's cool to be up front, but also you've got a championship to take on and constructors to try and go for and defend. So it's going to be interesting to see how the order shuffles, especially with all the different tire strategies we saw in Q1. Some drivers on the C5, others C4, some on C3, all across the board in pace between each tire as well. So I think it's going to be completely unpredictable today how this race goes.
I mean, it's going to be interesting to see if Chris O'Connor, who's starting quite far back from where he would want to be. Obviously, he's having a very tight battle for the World Driver Championship with Phil Lanky and now Ivan also, being not too far away from that now. It's a three-way battle for the championship, so it's going to be interesting to see who comes out on top of the day and if the championship changes leads again.
Yeah, and I mean, previous seasons in Canada have shown just how close some of these top drivers can be, battling throughout the entirety of the race and just putting down absolutely full sends on one another. So I cannot wait. I hope and pray that everyone gets through the first couple of corners clean and we don't have anything too bad. Hopefully nothing causing a safety car or any massive damage amongst the field.
Yes, and also there's been a rule change for the drivers. There's now allocated danger zones where if drivers cause an incident within those zones, their penalty given by the stewards will be doubled. So.
Ah, well, yeah. That is going to be an absolutely crucial factor, I'm sure. It's a hard car, especially to just keep within limits when you're on this type of
Nicholas, Adrian's telling me that I'm much louder than you, so you might want to turn yourself up.
Sure.
On the stream.
Fix that. Okay, there you go, Adrian. No, but no, these cars, I mean, on the edge, the way that you have to set them up, you have to make these cars, in most cases, just so loose. And, of course, you change things for the race setup as you're allowed to without park firme settings on a Assetto, but it's difficult, and you've got to make compromises in the setup, and you've got to make compromises in your driving style. And for a circuit like Canada, the barriers are right there. It's all flat. There's not much, if any, elevation anywhere throughout the circuit. It's just a flat street circuit, so lots of random odd off-camberedness, banking oddities throughout the corners, and especially a lot of chicanes, and especially having so many chicanes that are individually such high speed, it's just difficult all around. So as we get ready on the grid, do I need to return back to pits or do anything now?
No, if you just don't click. I mean, you can click the steering wheel, but then just go back to pits after they lead the first corner.
Cool. Will do. All right.
Do you mind sharing your Corsa screen rather than Streamlabs? So I can see what you're seeing on Discord.
My audio output seems to have gone silent for the car engines.
Oh.
That's odd.
Well, I mean, you have a minute to fix it before lights out, so can you do it?
It's interesting. I know
Go to the audio app on Assetto Corps.
Oh, you know what? I think it's just the idling audio for the engine sound mod that I have just doesn't come across in the out, because you can hear them revving, but you cannot hear the just idling. I don't think that the car has like an idling sound for the outside cameras. Okay, so we're good. We have sound. I was terrified that I lost my output, but we're good. Sound is back. It's just that outside camera. So as you hear some revving across the grid awkwardly, it's going to be a very, very tight start. Hopefully we can just keep this
I was
open.
not meant to myself there.
Alright, as the lights get ready to go out. Five, 6, and we are green for AFR. The Canadian Grand Prix, Ferrari's first lockout. Can they handle that through the first couple of corners?
I mean, looks like a relatively open driver there, so we're very impressed with that. I mean, you know, obviously the danger zone's then doing their job, not making the drivers scared to crash, which is, obviously a positive.
Yep, as we get back to our drivers, return to pits. Yep, Sven takes a confident lead ahead of his teammate, so Ferrari does maintain the 1-2 in the first lap. 2 McLarens behind.
The court does have a crash. He's now currently last, but no safety car needed, just him spinning off, I guess. Actually, looking at my right side out here, a bit of a contact with Imran, but doesn't look to be anything too major. As some contact done in the hairpin as well.
Matthew Gauthier behind in P4 in the McLaren. This has been a good start for him. Matthew Gauthier has ran into some very bad luck throughout this season. He's dropped back quite far after some good qualifying starts. So great to see him up there. And it would be great to see him able to challenge for the podium, maybe even a win today. But right now, it looks like the 2 Ferraris are pulling away pretty decently at the moment. Sven pulling what looks to be about 2 seconds on Ivan in P2. Jack Jeffries in P3 as well, up 2 positions from P5 to round out the podium positions currently. As far as the championship battle goes, a lot of drivers hanging around the top 5, top 6. Chris O'Connor up 1 position to P6. Phil Lanke down 2 positions to P5 at the start. Phil, a very consistent winner, podium contender across all races in this category, is looking a bit weak in the first lap. Maybe some type of incident, some type of backing out at the first couple of corners that lost him the positions, but we'll see how these positions round out.
Yeah, possibly, but most point now, Chris O'Connor is right behind Phil Lanke, so if he can get ahead and pull away from him, then he could close down that lead that Phil Lanke currently has as they go through the World Champions.
Yep, and this is reminiscent of previous seasons between the two. I'm hoping we can see some epic battles again today.
Yeah, hopefully, and importantly for the constructors, Ted Granick is now in 10th place, so he's going to be gaining a point for Red Bull in the constructors, extending the lead over Alpine, but as it stands, I believe Alpine will take the lead in the constructor standings.
Yep, Lanke just barely fending off P5 for the moment. Of course, DRS is enabled this lap, so Chris O'Connor will have a good chance to get by. It looks like even regardless of this dirty air, he's staying right on the tail of Phil, and I'm going to move to an onboard, not directly Chris's face, but we'll go with the gyro cam and check out this battle onto the back straight. I'm sure it's bound to be epic if Chris can just manage this corner exit out of the hairpin, goes a little wide, avoids the dirty air, so let's see. He's definitely within a second as we head down to the Wall of Champions once again to complete the 3rd lap of this race. Doesn't look like he's going to be quite close enough. Of course, we'll have another opportunity out of the chicane. Little bit sloppy with the dirty air, but manages to stay decently behind. Doesn't look like he'll have on much of an opportunity as Ivan takes the fastest lap of the race on lap 3 with a 1:10.5. So
Yeah, I mean he's closing that gap down to Sven now. I mean it's only 1.6 now, so he's gained 5 tenths since the first lap. So that's good for them. I mean if they're gonna are they gonna battle? They're gonna play the team game, just stay behind one another and just DRS train up the from everyone else.
Yep, and this is going to be interesting to see if they've planned out something in strategy. If Sven knows that with Ivan behind and not much, difficulty behind Ivan, I mean, they can manage their pace, manage their tires. As Ivan runs a little bit wide into the hairpin, definitely not going to help his tires at all right now.
The Chester jumper does take an early pit stop on lap 4. Not sure if he had a bit of damage there or something, but he has pit and is now coming out of the pits.
Yep, out of the pits into P16. That's going to be the final slot in the current running order.
Also, Nicholas, if you click on the positions gain/loss, you can put the delta back on. If you click on the actual, positions.
Cool.
There we are.
Awesome. Cool. That's much better. So, Matthew Gauthier up to P3. I'm not sure what's happened to Jack Jeffries. Maybe. He's down to P9 now. I'm not sure what's happened with him in these previous laps in the Alfa Romeo.
It doesn't look like he's had any collision, so he might have just spun or something. Just looking at the race direction notes, I mean, so Chester Jumper was involved in a collision with Ted Granick and Alex Cochrane, so maybe that's why he had to pit and got some damage. But he's now on the back of Peter Hook down the main straight and going into the World Championship game.
Yep. And Matthew up to P3, so he is now into podium contention. And this is one thing I was talking about yesterday in qualifying, was just how much race pace can vary regardless of outright qualifying pace. Setup is definitely crucial between both sessions, and there's definitely differences to be made to extract the maximum out of each scenario, but it really was going to come down to Q1 strategy with the tire compound for the top 10, as well as just outright management, racecraft, and race setups. So the order's definitely shuffled up a bit. Some drivers have gained 2 positions, some have dropped 3, 4, 5, some on outright pace, some due to incidents. We've seen a lot of shaking up here, so.
I mean, there's a battle for 4 going on now between Phil Lanky, Chris O'Connor and Richard Warner, all within second of each other, so they will all have DRS, but Phil Lanky obviously being the leader of the pack won't have the advantage of DRS to defend himself from, but I think Chris actually might be out of DRS injury.
Yep, Phil Lanky currently sits 2 seconds off of Matthew Gauthier, so he will definitely be thinking right now about trying to close up that gap to hopefully get himself some DRS as soon as possible to fend off the 2 cars behind, because they will definitely be in close pursuit if they can get some solid corner exits here. But Phil, nevertheless, looking like he's pretty strong. He's closing up to Matthew ahead, just a couple tenths every corner. So this should be a very interesting battle if he can catch Matthew.
I'm interested to see if Richard Warner's, he had some very good qualifying pace. Will he be able to get past Chris O'Connor and maybe potentially even get Phil Lanky?
Yeah, he's shown some insane pace throughout the weekend, definitely. Going, I believe, P2 in the first qualifying session, and of course P6 in the second session. But very, very confident pace. His practice on the leaderboard all week has shown, the confidence he's been showing with his setup and in this car. So he's right on the tail of Chris O'Connor, who's a veteran driver of the series, and Richard is really starting to make his mark today.
Yeah, Richard, he's a fast driver, but just lacking that consistency. But maybe this race, he's practiced set some good times, and now maybe we'll finally score some decent points for Mercedes.
Yep, he's sitting right there. He's sitting right there with all of the top 5. Will he be there? Potentially soon. Potentially within the next couple of laps. Maybe so. Phil continues to pull away, but Matthew continues to pull away. It keeps a 2-second gap as Sven takes another solid lap.
Sven soon will also be reaching some lap traffic from Chester. He's only a couple of corners away from him, so could slow Sven down a bit and allow Ivan to possibly go for a move, as there's a bit of contact in the wall from Chester. He's out of the race.
Yeah, Sven last lap, 110.9 to Ivan's 111.3. So still pulling very strong pace. Matthew Gauthier pulling a 12.4, Phil Lenke 12.3, Chris O'Connor 12.4, and Richard Warner is the fastest of the four, pulling a 12.2. Richard on his last lap actually pulled an 11.7, so he's still pulling some very impressive paces. We see Ivan go a little bit wide at the hairpin. Got Richard just about 6/10 behind Chris as we go for another run into the hairpin.
I mean, Richard, if he gets a good exit, he could potentially go for a move into the chicane and or possibly even get him on the Yoshi, but it doesn't look like he's going to be able to do that now because Chris looks to have gotten a much better exit than Richard there.
Yep, well, Chris is now actually not clear of the DRS zone. Chris has no DRS, so Richard will definitely be taking confidence on every straight, especially if he's using his battery, as he makes a massive move to the outside, just cannot get it from that far out. Very respectful racing. Chris O'Connor stays ahead as Richard snaps out a little bit, but stays behind. I'm sure this battle is going to continue on. Richard on a softer compound tire, Chris running the C3, Richard running C4. It's going to be interesting.
I mean, Richard obviously will have to pit full tires soon, so he could possibly go for an undercut on Chris if he manages to get more pace out of the next tire compound until Chris pits. So Richard could play the strategy game here, pit early and try and get the undercut on Chris.
Yep, and we do approach the pit window. Of course, this is a highly abrasive track, and it's like I said at the beginning, it's all very fast corners, very flat, awkwardly just barely off-cambered in some corners, just some oddities throughout that just really make the car drift off of apexes, and it's abrasive, it hurts the tires, and it really begs question of when should I pit. And in the Q1 session we saw drivers on the C5s, the C4s, and the C3 going with a whole array of strategy choices. So undercuts will be occurring, I'm sure, overcuts will be occurring, I'm sure. Richard, it might be in his best interest to do it. He sits just about half a second off of Chris O'Connor, continues to put in faster laps to the two ahead by just about a tenth or two. So if he can go and pit into clear air, he might really set himself up to gain 2, 3, or maybe even 4 positions. It looks like we have a slow car ahead. That might be a back marker.
Yes, that's the core. I mean, now interesting enough, while Richard is gaining on Chris, Alex Koshin is getting on both. I mean, he's been gaining every lap. I mean, he's only 1.7 behind now. He's on the hardest compound of tires, so he's gonna go longer than Richard and probably pit around the same lap as Chris. So he could maybe, if he keeps setting good laps, he could possibly even overcut Richard. So obviously he will have a soft tire compound on Richard next lap. So when he next pits, so he on soft compound tire, he might be able to put in some more pace and get Richard.
Yep.
He might just keep setting these laps.
Yep, and that's the game of this entire race. It's going to come down to a combination of intelligence and talent. It's going to come down to those intelligent decisions on pit strategy, and otherwise it's going to come down to just tire management outright and just managing that pace, managing that.
Now, interestingly enough, Chris O'Connor is now very close to the back end of Phil Lanke. He's gained a tremendous amount of time on him. He's widening his rear wing. No, that's what it looks like on the lap times.
And it seems that Phil has dropped off a significant amount from Matthew Gauthier ahead. He was once almost within a second of DRS, and is currently sitting about 3.25 seconds behind now. He's either dropped back in a bit of pace, or maybe he's just dealing with the effects of the tire degradation that this abrasive circuit can bring. I say abrasive, it's not particularly abrasive, but when running on Assetto Corsa with higher, weather and track temperatures, it really proves to be abrasive. The current track temperature is 37 Celsius. Of course, the track state is up to 100% now. So lots of grip, but also, drivers are carrying lots of pace around and really wearing those tires out. As Chris is right on the back end of Phil now. He's going to be hungry to get good corner exits here for these upcoming DRS zones to be able to try and launch a move, as he has attempted to do many a times in previous seasons here with Phil. Had some great duels.
I just realised that Alex Cochrane does manage to get past Richard as still
Seems a blue. Oh, that's Matthew Gauthier who spun. That's Matthew Gauthier who spun. The car that just came across in our frame as Chris entered the one chicane was Matthew Gauthier. I wasn't sure who that was. I saw Chris had barely dodged it. So, unfortunate luck again for Matthew. Of course, we're only on lap 12 of 35. He's got lots of time to come back, but he's now dropped down to P7, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, the two Ferraris are absolutely dominating these opening stages of the race. I mean, 17 seconds clear of P3. I mean, Sven's nearly 20 seconds clear of P3, so...
Yep. And respectfully so. They've showed dominant pace all weekend long, especially Sven pulling 7/10 as Chris goes around the outside into the first set of corners, gets the inside line, but just backs out a bit, gives Phil the space. Phil does go wide, though, completely loses to the... And that's what I was talking about with the odd off-camberedness around here. You know, Phil just drops off because the car just wants to drop off and go straight on at that point when you're about halfway out in that first set of corners by the pit exit. So
really good for Chris, as he just went past his championship rival.
Yeah, and up into podium contention now. He'll be taking home a confident 15 points if he's able to manage this. But of course, Phil is hungry to get that back as he stays just about 4/10 on the rear of Chris.
And obviously Phil now will have the advantage of DRS to get Chris, so he could possibly do the same move Chris just did.
He goes up the inside the hairpin as Chris goes wide. He gets ahead. Who's going to have DRS?
I believe Phil will have DRS because the detection point is quite far back there, so Phil will now just be able to pull ahead of Chris.
Yeah, and Chris now comes under a bit of threat from Alex Cochrane, who currently does not have DRS, but soon will. Alex, like you said earlier, Nick, has really been closing up this gap, so... Phil's going to get DRS again down the main straight.
Yeah, because obviously the detection is before the hairpin, but it lasts for 2 DRS, and so again, DRS there is a massive advantage.
As we have a Ferrari exit right ahead of Phil. This is some great action.
Yeah, that's Sven ahead of the... sorry, is that Ivan? Sorry, no, it's Ivan. He pitted and he's still ahead of Phil and Chris, so that's...
Oh, yeah. So that is a massive gap provisionally that the Ferraris are already holding. Oh, as Chris gets a bit wide, shaky into the barrier. Oh, hopefully that has caused yellow damage to his rear wing and light yellow damage around both side pods in the front wing. So Chris is definitely not going to be happy with that. His performance as well is not going to be happy with that. Alex Cochrane gets by to take P4. Phil Lanky gets by to take P3 and return to podium contention.
Sven now goes into the pits, so he'll probably be comfortably ahead of them. I mean, Ivan was only 16 seconds ahead and he managed to get ahead, so yeah, Sven's in the pits now and he's going to have a massive gap still to the cars ahead.
Oh, as Cochrane seems to have done something here. We've gone off camera for a moment, but Cochrane has jumped through on the chicane. He lets the 2 cars by. Drag racing, all 3. I'm not sure how this has occurred, but they all drag raced at the first couple of quarters. Oh my gosh. Chris just manages to get back ahead. Chris is back ahead. They can look 3 wide. Contact between the Alpine and the Aston of Chris.
There's still such a banging wheels out. It's thrilling racing, very close. I mean, Jack Jeffrey's also now only 3.5 from behind him, so he could even get into this action. I mean, he's just gaining and gaining while these guys are fighting and losing time.
Yep, as we go on board with Alex Cochrane, who looks like he may have taken a little bit of damage away from that incident with Phil, just a little bit of wheel banging, but I'm sure not too much to look into there, just some bit of contact. They were looking to potentially be going 3 wide before that second set of chicanes there, so...
Yeah, Chris takes P3, he takes it back. Even after the incident he had with the crash.
Very good exit from Cochrane. So this is going to be a bit of a drag race back down. Let's see if anyone can get an advantage. Perhaps just a train scenario. No, Cochrane is using a lot of battery here. He gets to the inside. Is he going to make the move stick into the chicane? Oh. Manages to get ahead of Phil. Looks like Phil has to back out. Of course, we watch onboard through that occurrence with Alex Cochrane and Phil Lanky, but from Alex's side, looked very clean, so fair play to him. Alex goes up into P4. Chris O'Connor begins to pull away over a second gap now to Alex Cochrane, but Chris in P3 taking that last podium spot, so...
I mean, while we're watching the spot, I mean, Ted Gremick has been going up and up the order. He's now up into P6. Obviously, he has some pits, so he may lose some positions during the pits phases, but he's currently in P6, putting in some very good points for Red Bull to keep their advantage in the Constructors' Championships.
And like you pointed out earlier, Nick, we've got Richard Warnders, who has pit to the medium compound, so it looks like he is on the undercut strategy as of now, so it'll be interesting to see where he plays into this battle ahead. Of course, they've been battling for the past 3 laps, so Richard has just been putting outright pace in clear air, so he might be able to just snatch some positions back up here.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if they carry on fighting, that's going to play right into Richard's hands, and he, might even to get, if they have a crash or, just slow down each other by a second or two, then that could put Richard in a very advantageous position and maybe possibly even get that P3 position.
Well, if we look right now on the relative, Richard currently sits just, what is it? If I estimate, it's about 19 or 20 seconds off of Phil Lanky based off of the delta on the leaderboard with him and Phil and Ted Gremiak. And if we look ahead, Chris is only just tenths ahead.
We saw how close it was with Ivan. I mean, he was only about 20 seconds ahead, so if Richard can just close that gap down to maybe even 18 seconds, he could actually get ahead of all 3 cars and get P3.
Yep. So
all he needs to do now is just set consistent laps, set faster laps on the guys ahead, and he, could even get a podium.
As we look to the Ferraris right now, both continuing with confident pace, looks like Ivan is really struggling on these tires, at least at that hairpin. Of course, he's only pit a few laps ago. He might just be struggling to get them up to temperature, but keeping a decent gap thus far. Already gapped 8 seconds to Chris O'Connor, who still has not pit.
Yeah, as I'm looking at Richard's pace, he seems to be lapping the same pace as the cars in front. So if he wants to get that undercut, he needs to up his pace. But it doesn't seem like he's finding the speed in those tires.
Yep.
I mean, if Richard gets behind, if the undercut doesn't work, then he's going to really struggle because he'll be on the old used medium tires while they'll be on fresh he'll be on hard and they'll be on fresh medium. So I highly doubt drivers would want to go on C5s, but we saw Chris do that in Baku, and it worked out just fine for him. I mean, he went from mediums to softs, and it was worked out brilliant for him. I mean, obviously Phil had a bit of a spin into turn 2, but he showed really good pace on those C5 tires at Baku. So will Chris try to do that again and take the risk again?
As we sit on board with Alex Cochran once again, as we get down to the final hairpin before the main straight down to the Wall of Champions. He's definitely going to be thinking as he enters this hairpin every lap, what can I do to maintain the greatest exit? As Chris gets a bad exit, all he's had to do is get a decent exit. Chris has messed up a little bit, so he's going to have a very confident run. Very confident run. He looks to the outside as they head down to the Wall of Champions. Chris is going to slot in behind him, might not have any type of attack or defense back. It's a little bit dirty air, yes. A little bit of dirty air through the Wall of Champions for Chris O'Connor. Stays behind. Alex Cochran currently up to P3, but Chris is not dropping back.
It's an insane battle these 3 guys are giving us.
Yeah, they're consistently sitting 4 or 5 tenths off of one another. They are not holding up anyone else at all. They are all on pretty much equal pace. We have a car egg.
Oh, he gets distracted a little bit. Seems to be fine as he got distracted by that back marker.
Yeah, I had to hold my breath there. I wasn't sure what was going to happen.
And, as these guys are fighting, Richard is now only 18.6 seconds behind and he's still gaining. So Richard now possibly can even get the undercut, sorry.
Mm-hmm. And that, of course, is in the context of all of these drivers nailing their pit stop.
This is going to be interesting as these guys, they all have DRS on this straight. See if Chris can get Alex. As DRS wide open, doesn't seem to be far close enough.
Yep. And they're all going to lose time as they continue to battle and defend off one another. Richard's just going to keep closing down that gap. It's going to be close. And of course, like I'm saying, you have to factor in mistakes in pit stops. Reserved pit entries, trying to avoid the penalty. Things of that nature can hamper drivers by anywhere from half a second. I mean, just tenths to seconds, and any of that amount can be crucial in terms of track position.
Yeah, and we know all of these drivers, they have damage. They're gonna be spending that little bit extra time
that is
on their pit box, fixing the damage.
as Sven goes purple in the first and second sector on this lap, is really starting to show his dominant pace in these closing stages. Perhaps he's confident with his tire levels and knows that he can push ahead. I mean, use more, pull pace, get a decent, even more consistent gap on Ivan behind. And really solidify that P1.
Just an update on Richard. Last lap he was 1.5 seconds faster than the guys ahead. So if these guys carry on battling, he's just going to be gaining 1.5 seconds, and he'll get him with the undercut, which is going to be very interesting to see how that plays out. He's now right on the back of Ted Gramiak, is Richard Warners.
Yep.
Jeffrey's also getting it as Phil Lanky dives into the pits now. So let's see where Phil ends up. Will he be behind? Will he be ahead of Richard Warners? It's going to be interesting to see.
Well, unfortunately for Richard, he's stuck in a bit of traffic right now. This is going to be crucial to show if his pace in these past few laps has pushed him ahead. As he's going to
he's going to be completely ahead of Phil Lanky. Phil Lanky is now only exiting the pit. He's still in the pit limit as Richard Warners now goes into...
we see Phil exit in the background by easily 7, 8, 9, 10 seconds there. That was a very, very large gap that Richard has pulled.
Yeah, so, I think he'll be able to clear Alex and Chris now, so I think Richard is now in provisional P3 once Alex and Chris pit.
Yep, he sits just 17 seconds off of Chris O'Connor, and Chris O'Connor currently sits only 9/10 off of Alex Cochran, so that's roughly about 18 seconds, which is a very confident gap for him to clear by. He should be able to clear them as well by a solid 6, 7, 8 seconds, so... This could confidently be P3, even if the other three drivers have better pace, equal pace, anything of the sort. As Alex Cochran gets a 10-second penalty.
Yeah.
Wow. So this is getting spicy.
Obviously Alex is allowed to appeal that, but if it's too much over, then that penalty will stick, and that could put Alex Cochran out of any contention of a podium.
Yep. Ted Gremiak as well, so we'll see post-race if any of these drivers appeal to the stewards. We know that some of these Assetto Corsa apps on occasion can have glitches with the pit entry line giving penalties, and drivers can report through sharing their screen recordings of the race and whatnot, so all will be solved, but we will see. As of now, we can assume that both of these drivers do have 10-second penalties for speeding, as they sit about, casual 2.5, 3 seconds behind Richard Warners, who does take P3. So he's done everything that he's needed to running the softer compound in the earlier stages of the race. It's just going to be a question of can he get these harder compound tires all the way to the end and maintain pace to defend in those closing laps. I assume that Cochran, O'Connor, and Lanky all have gone to a softer compound.
They're now all on the soft. They're now on the medium, so they're going to have a tire advantage over Richard. So he's on one. He pitted 8 laps ago, so he's on 8-lap-old hards. But these guys are on fresh mediums.
Very massive move on Jack Jeffries for P4. Cochran gets the position, gets him at the wall of champions with a very nice overtake, so he's confidently back ahead. Of course, we've got O'Connor and Lanky back currently P6, P7, still just tenths off each other, and now tenths off of Jack Jeffries, who sits tenths off of Alex Cochran. Penalties are around, everything is in hand right now. Who knows how this race is going to go?
Yeah, if Alex Cochran, Jack Jeffries, they're all within 10, so it's one mistake and Cochran could go from P4 to PA. Matthew Gautier now is climbing back that time that he lost. He's only 2 seconds away from Phil Lanky now, so he could even be coming this battle soon.
Yep, and we saw before his mistake earlier, or whatever has caused his incident to send him back so many positions. We saw that he was pulling a confident gap to Phil Lanky, at least 3.5 seconds in the end before his mistake. The gap was initially just around a second, and he was able to pull those seconds out on Phil, who was also in clear air. So he's closing up now. He's almost within DRS range of the three as they all continue to battle down the order. Chris O'Connor gets ahead of Jack Jeffries in the background. Jack Jeffries just stays behind, makes contact with the wall. I'm sure that's going to open up a run for Phil Lanky, who does get by. Matthew Gautier is going to be wanting to get the scrapes of that as we head down for another lap.
But for him, I think Matthew is just a bit too far back to get Jack Jeffries there, but I think next lap, he's got some front wing damage. He's going to be understeering into corners, and I think that could allow Matthew to get the position on Jack.
as we check out the very cool helmet of Matthew Gauthier with the custom McLaren livery that the team is running for the entirety of the season, which is a very awesome livery to be able to see on track, of course, as well as the white Red Bull livery from Turkey. So Matthew Gauthier sits just 9/10 off of Jack Jeffries. Looks like the rest of the cars ahead, ranging from P3 to P7, all sit about 9/10 to a second off of one another, so pretty confident gaps as we go back on board with our leader Sven Gielhard, who seems to be a little questionable on exit as he tries to avoid Ted Grmiek, who looks like he's re-entering the track out of the turn 7, turn 8 chicane. I'm not sure the turn numbers. I wish I had them on my laptop right now, but I don't, so...
He's been very dominant this race, but we should not rule out the possibility of Ivan picking up that win if Sven makes a mistake. He's only 7 seconds behind, one spin and he could take the win.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, with how close these guys behind are, one mistake from them, could deploy a safety car, which, you know, just brings the field back together and, well, takes away the advantage that the two cars have been building this entire race.
Yep, and there's super close battling, and there's definitely a potential for an incident like that, especially in these tight corners with such close walls. I mean, it's a difficult one. It's a strategy game within battling. It's deciding when do I back out, when do I go for moves, when do I have confidence. You know, knowing who you're racing, knowing who's going to be respectful and not put you into the barrier that, you know, ultimately causes that 4 to 5 car pileup is crucial here. So Richard Warnders maintains P3, but Alex Cochran is really eyeing his sights on the podium from behind. And as we remember, Alex has received a 10-second penalty on his pit entry. My audio output has failed very briefly. Hang on, if you want to continue commentating, Nick, I'll fix my output because my DAC just fell on the ground.
Fine, so we know.
Okay, I have to rejoin so my output works again, but I'm just rejoining. And then, yeah, great. But I'll continue commentating on the live timing as I rejoin. And we wait to rejoin. Nothing interesting has happened, though, to my fellow stream watchers. Still got Sven in the lead, putting in purple sectors for the Ferraris, Ivan P2. Richard Warnders still P3, holding off Alex Cochran. Phil Linke has gotten past Chris O'Connor behind. Matthew Gauthier gets past Jack Jeffries for P7, but gets passed again. As it seems, my Assetto Corsa crashes for the first time in... What the fuck is happening with my entire PC is like shitting out. Hold on. This is great.
If we were watching it live, then we would have known what to say. That's Chris O'Connor organised with the pits. So yeah, so there must have been a big incident. Sorry, we missed downstream, but Nicholas, is your side course doing with stuff?
It's acting odd. I'm trying to rejoin and I'm just getting a blank screen on my Assetto loading screen. I've never had this happen before. But we're rejoining now, boys. We are back. Oh my gosh. Yeah, we had a bit of a glitch there. My like audio output cut out, and then my entire.
Oh, as I see on the live timing, Ivan has just lost around 25 seconds on his last lap. He must have crashed. I don't know if he has.
No. Ivan went to the pits. He I don't know if he maybe able to get him a puncture or if he's just pitting just to get, you know, a fresher tire and fend off Richard, who's now crawling back. I mean, Phil Lanky 4 seconds away from Richard, so Richard has a comfortable gap behind, so he can just, you know, I mean, I doubt that Richard can gain 2 seconds per lap on Ivan because he's been showing incredible pace this whole race as Phil Lanky loses position to Jack Jeffries, and I mean, they're now battling out, helping out Richard massively, and Jack Jeffries gets up into P4 now. So, as Matthew Gaultier is crashed on the exit of turn 2, not sure what happened there. But yeah, so this race has got a very interesting ending. I mean, Chris O'Connor now in P9, so that's giving Phil Lanky, you know, he's in P5.
My
so
entire
he's
like,
gaining
PC is
massive.
shit.
In the driver championship right now, I mean, obviously Chris isn't going to be very happy with that, but you know, not much he can do about it now. So he's just going to have to put his head down and try and scrape back as many points as he can. Is your stream working? Nicholas?
Yeah, as of now we've got video and your output, but I don't my entire like PC has shit out somehow from my audio output like breaking initially. Like my AC was like running like 5 FPS and then it like crashed 2 times on loading. Which is odd because I always run like VR and multiple overlays and stream and everything. So yeah, that's very interesting. I actually don't know how that's occurred, but
the stream's working, yeah?
yeah, stream is working. We just might be missing AC audio for the moment. But we've got video, and we've got Discord output and my input.
Can
in
you
your
screen share?
Screen.
Yeah.
So very anticlimactic end to the race stream. However, this has been a wonderful race, honestly. It was as crazy as I was hoping for it to be initially in qualifying yesterday. So my FPS has seemed to come back now. My audio still. Oddly, maybe I can fix it, because the odd thing with Assetto Corsa is that you have to like back out of the game to rechange your output to like rejoin once it gets fucked up. So I had to back out.
Yeah, so to give you a bit of context, it seems like Ivan has pitted for a fresh set of new tires, and it seems like he did that to get the fastest lap. He's trying right now. I don't know if he's just preparing his battery. But it
He's
seems
a
like
1.3 second. No, sorry, I don't actually know what the fast lap is because it's not showing on the lap time.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Richard comfortably in P3 now. He's 4 seconds clear of Jack Jeffries behind. I mean, and Jack Jeffries obviously fighting with Phil Lanky. Chris O'Connor down into P8. I mean, he's I don't know if his team had let him by or if he got back past him on pace, but you know, both team overs maybe. But yeah, Chris not in the best of positions right now for the long run. But you know, I mean, it's racing, stuff like that happens. So at this point in time, I believe Ivan will be in P2 of the Driver Championship, and Phil Lanky will be in P1, and Chris will drop down to P3.
as we see there, Ivan pushing really hard. He's going for the fastest lap. Doesn't get it yet, but let's see if he can get it.
I mean, interesting enough, last lap, Richard Warners was actually faster than Ivan, but he's too far back to actually be able to get him, I think. I mean, it's 4 laps left as Phil Lanky goes forward and moves down into the chicane and gets past Jack Jeffries. I mean, he'll obviously have DRS down the pit straight as well, so he's going to go far ahead of him now. But, I mean, Jack Jeffries, you know, he's a young driver, very... not too experienced in AFR, but, you know, he's been showing himself. I mean, if he manages to get P5 here, that's... very strong points foul for Romeo and for himself.
Yeah, no doubt. Chris O'Connor down to P8. I heard that he had a brief incident as my PC died, but I mean, yeah,
Nope.
this is massive points up for grabs here. As Alex Cochran sets a personal best lap of the entire week out of any of his laps of his practice, he sets a 1:10.0. So Very confident pace. For anyone who's just joining us, we had a very great opening 27 laps or so before my PC died from initially my audio output cutting out. So we are back. It seems that the AC output is still not working.
Yeah, I mean, sorry to cut you off there, because but Alex Caution sets the fastest sector one of anybody this race, so Alex Caution could even go for the fastest lap as Sven Hillhood gets the fastest sector 2, while Alex will be able to take the fastest lap away from Sven, who I believe currently has the fastest lap.
Yep, he goes fastest in Sector 1 by just about, about 7/100ths of a second to Sven. He doesn't match him. He loses 4/10ths into the second sector, so it's not looking too good. Sven sets a personal best third sector of a 19.858. We'll see as Alex Cochran comes around.
Yeah, he just sets another fastest lap. I don't think anyone can challenge him for that right now.
No,
even Ivan with those new tires seems like he's struggling a bit.
That one.
I mean, Ivan just had a really bad last lap. He said 13.7, Richardson 11.7, so he's gaining by 2 seconds, but he's just not enough laps for Richard to get P2. But I think Richard will either way be happy with the P3 if he manages to keep that 4.6 second gap now away to Phil.
As someone inexplicably comments the word server inadequate onto the stream. Yes. Anyway, that was my PC breaking, but thank you. So yeah, as we get on to
Alex Cochran has set a purple first sector, which was faster by around 1/10. He sets green second sector, so let's see if he can get that fastest lap. He's really pushing at the moment.
Yep, but no, Ivan takes it away with an even faster first sector, just about 3/100ths quicker. So the Ferraris are coming back to try and get this as we are on the final lap now. It's going to be crucial for this extra point for the championship, especially with how close the pace is across the board. Everyone's
yeah, I mean, Ivan, he's been showing great pace this whole weekend, but Sven just being much faster than him. I mean, Sven just absolutely came in, dominated Canada. I mean, he's just got 1 lap left. He just needs to hold off, and he will convert his pole into a win. And I believe that will be a Grand Slam as well, because I believe he has led every single lap of Canada.
Yep, he has not put a foot wrong this week. He's done everything right. He's taken every qualifying session. As Ivan does set the fastest lap, goes just hundredths quicker.
That was a few hundredths quicker than Sven's fastest lap, so he does get it, finally.
Yeah, but of course I do believe there's one more lap to go, as Sven just has begun the final lap so much earlier than everyone else. Sven comes around on his final lap. He does get a personal best for the first sector, but Alex snatches the purple away in the first sector on the last lap. Sven wins, goes a 109.6. Can't take that fastest
Alex has crashed.
That's very unfortunate for Alex there, but I mean, yes, so Sven takes the win. Spencer finishing P10. Matthew Gauntier P6. I mean, we're just waiting now for Ivan to cross line to confirm that P2.
And that crash was critical for Cochran as well, because he's got Chris right on his tail now, as well as his teammate at Red Bull, Ted.
And Chris O'Connor gets Alex Cochran on the line, I believe.
Wow.
Yeah, he did. That was a drag race to the line there.
Amazing. And of course, Alex is not going to be happy with that 10-second penalty. That's also going to potentially hamper his finishing position. So that incident at the end, trying to go for fastest lap, if that was his intent, as he went purple through the first sector and through the first subsectors of the second sector, just did not work out in the end. So.
Yeah, but I believe, that's Richard won his first podium here in AFR, so he's going to be very excited about that, doing some donuts there, as we have Alex Cochran in the interview waiting, so we'll put him in here. Hello, Alex.
Hello.
Yeah,
so what happened? We saw you got 10-second time penalty as well on pits. How did that occur? Did you just misjudge the braking point, or did you just miss the entry line?
Me and Chris were pitting at the same time. Hello, by the way, everyone. Me and Chris were pitting at the same time, and I broke a little bit early to be careful, and then I thought he was going to hit me, so I let off the brakes, and then I cut the. I broke the speed limit because I stopped braking. Yeah.
Damn.
because I'd worked out that like 50 meters was safe. The 50-meter board for the last chicane. So I broke there, and then I broke before there even. And then Chris behind me, I saw getting closer and closer, getting the red, orange, then red, and I was like, oh no, and yeah. I mean, I don't know if he would have hit me, but it was just being safe. Obviously, it didn't work. But yeah.
Yeah, you showed some really good pace in the end. We were watching on the live timing, looking at all of the sectors and looking into the Stracker and all that for the timing. And you went purple on that last lap there. You were purple first sector by, I mean, decently. It looked like maybe a whole tenth you had pulled there in the first sector. And then it looks like you had some type of accident there in the second sector. And your second sector was like 10 seconds off in the main. And Chris got by in the end. So it looked like you were going for fastest lap, or you were just full sending it to try and gain position or gain as much with that penalty. So it was insane up until there.
My race was not the best. I brushed the wall slightly through the second chicane, and since it's AC, that gave me full red rear wing.
Right.
So yeah, unfortunately, I had to make a second pit stop. And yeah, I mean, my race was over, so I was just pushing as fast as possible. Obviously, I didn't do qualifying, so I wasn't actually sure like how fast I could go. So I was just wanting to see what I could have done in quali. But,
right.
Yeah, unfortunately, on the as you said, on the last lap, I took a little too much curb into the chicane just before the hairpin, and yeah, it just all full four-wheel slide into the wall. But it didn't really matter, did it? Didn't really throw anything away. So.
Yeah. Well, that was an intense race. We were watching all the way through the three-way battle with you, Chris O'Connor, and Phil Lanke. I mean, that was insane to watch. And we were looking at the gaps. We had watched Richard from a softer compound pit early, and we're watching to see.
Speaking of Richard, he's coming to our booth. Hello, Richard.
Hey.
Congratulations on your P3.
Let's go! I'm so happy, man. This is awesome. I did a perfect race basically, cause no spin whatsoever. My tires were good. Everything was on fire. Man, I'm happy.
Yeah, we were just chatting in here with Alex about the crazy battling that he was having, and you got into a bit of as well with Phil Lanke and Chris O'Connor at times, Jack Jeffries at times, Ivan Olesajuk, like everyone, Matthew Gauthier, like everyone was in that battle at one point through the top half of that top 10 running order. But yeah, we were watching you throughout the race. We saw you on the softer tire. We saw you pit early, and when you had pit was when the three drivers, Alex, Phil, and Chris, really had started getting pretty intense with the battling. They were all running briefly DRS trains on each other, and then started going for some overtakes as the tires were dying. But we saw you come out confidently, like 10 seconds ahead, I believe, of one of them initially, and then the other two had come out. You had like a 4-second gap, and yeah, that was just awesome to watch, and you ended up on the podium with that strategy. So, good job.
Yeah,
proper job
good.
there. That was good.
On my in lap, I was like, let's push like hell, because I want to have like a little gap, because I saw my relatives, they were pretty close to each other. And then I got out, just smooth, no issues, and just drove. But yeah, I'm pretty happy. Feels good to be on the podium here.
Yeah, saw you doing some donuts after.
Yeah, I was happy, man. Yeah, it was good. I'm happy to call myself an AFR podium finisher now.
Yeah, no, good job. That was super fun to watch. It was super fun to commentate on. There was a lot of strategy and a lot of battling going on all over the place, and it was hard to decipher at some points, but you ended out on top. So I mean,
yeah,
proper job.
Thank you.
Hello, Sven.
Hey, what's up?
Yo. Yeah.
There's I'm very thrilled about that amazing race you just drove there, getting the first Grand Slam on AFR.
Yeah, it sure feels good putting a 1-2 in quali and also a 1-2 in the race. Basically domination. Yeah, feels good.
Can I just add a correction to that? I'm 3 or 2.
Sorry, can you say that again?
Can I just add a correction that I'm pretty sure I got a Grand Slam in Hockenheim Season 2.
Ah, yes, at Hockenheim. Yes. Yes. No, you dominated. Yeah, no, I remember that. You dominated that. Never mind, Sven. You're not the first Grand Slam.
Great job, Sven. Anyway, that was an impressive pace. That was
First
great.
Grand Slam in season 5.
Well, still good anyway.
Yeah, you were the man that we did not hear from often during the race. You pulled a pretty confident gap, especially at the end. It seems Ivan had a mistake of some sort and dropped back.
Ivan pitted.
Oh, okay. So that's what I. Yeah, and you were like 40 something seconds ahead as you closed on the final lap. So I mean that was absolutely dominant there. No one had a challenge to you this weekend. You pulled what was it, 7/10 or so in qualifying. So that was awesome.
Yeah, it was great. If I knew when Ivan had pitted, I actually didn't notice, so I would have done the same. But to get the fastest lap, but it's insane. It's insane.
Yeah, so after that race, you are now the constructor leaders. Coming from, well, I think you were third. You're now leading the constructor championship by 2 points, and your teammate Ivan is P2 in the driver standings.
Good shit. Good shit.
Hell yeah.
Alright, so I think that's going to be it for this Canada race. I mean, we're now going to be having a 2-week break over Christmas and New Year, so we will see you in the new year, I believe, on the 8th of January.
Yep. You never know when the championship is going to get decided by a safety car. Anyway,
Oh, yes.
On that note, thanks for tuning in. Yep, and on to the next round. We will be back in January of the new year.